Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 29 of Unfiltered, Race Fans Only podcast. You got me and Blake. We don't have our usual cast of side characters. Chris is busy. New work schedule changed, and the rest of them, they decided they didn't like us anymore. So it's just back to us. Hopefully that'll do. So this weekend we were in Indianapolis. We raced at IRP, ORP, whatever you want to call it, for the trucks, and then the big track for the Xfinity and the you're trying to plug Prime for primary already, I see. All
Oh
right.
yeah,
Prime is
time for
primary.
primary.
All right. Uh, for Xfinity and for Cup, uh, we're able to get all the races in, even though weather looked like it was gonna, interrupt a good finish. It still ended up playing out pretty good. So with that, we'll start with the truck weekend. To me, nothing too eventful over at IRP. Good race. Just, I would love to have seen the Xfinity cars over this weekend because that's one of my favorite tracks. It's got multi grooves, even though it's a flat track. It's got, really nice progressive low banking, if you will. Like it starts out really low and it gradually creeps up, and so you can wash up the track, uh, and you can really hug the outside and get a good run. So always one of my favorite tracks to watch when they go to. Really miss when Xfinity used to go there back when Harvick and then were running and Brad Keselowski. They put on a heck of a show. Uh,
Yeah, it's a shame that Xfinity series sold out, and I say sold out, but you know, left the small track and went to the big track to honestly probably be in the same amount in front of the same amount of people at our
right.
at Indianapolis as I would be in ORP. So
Yep. And from what Harvick says, he's really the only one that talks about it, but from what Harvick says, NASCAR and the track owners, promoters got into a dispute. And so that's why NASCAR left it for a while and didn't go there. And so they've now got the trucks back there. But, to me, that's not too much of a surprise if that's what really happened. Harvick's
yeah,
not
it's
known
not
for pulling
surprising at
his
all.
punches. So, uh, that's a shame because again, the trucks obviously that's exactly where they belong on your short track routes. Uh, and the Xfinity cars, while they put on probably the best show at the big track, they would put on an even better show uh, at the small track. So um, Lane Riggs won, right? Just want to make sure I
Yeah,
got that right.
I
Yep.
didn't get to watch it, but
So for
from
once,
what I
Corey
can
Heim
tell,
didn't win. Basically it's been Heim's year. When he stubbed his toe or just had bad luck, then Lane Riggs has popped up in there and won. Scott Riggs' son, he's on his way, little by
yeah,
little.
he's a short track king for sure.
Yep. Um, So then we shift to the Xfinity race. Uh, well, before we get into the race, let's talk about qualifying. So nothing too eventful for the Xfinity qualifying, but before the Xfinity race, you had Cup qualifying. And this was the first time in Cup qualifying that I can recall in a long time where you genuinely didn't know who was going to end up with the pole because people were so on edge, and each person that would go, about every other person that went out there would smack the wall coming out of two, and
It truly
some
looked like
hit it hard.
Indianapolis 500 qualifying.
Yep, it like you said, it really reminded me more of like, pole day for Indy, where you got to run who's going to put down the fastest lap. And I mean, the Toyotas by far were the fastest cars. It wasn't even close. They had John Hunter Nemechek not tapped the wall and Denny not just absolutely annihilated his car, they would have owned the top seven spots.
I think if
Oh,
Denny doesn't wreck that car, he probably just dominates the day and wins the race, honestly.
oh yeah,
But
the way he was running before he wrecked that car in qualifying, I was like, oh, he's gonna win this race this weekend. Like he was ready to go. The car was set up perfect. He had over 2/10 on the field coming through and still had more to go. And he said he just gave it a punch of the throttle to kind of like set it and then get ready to build the momentum coming out of the corner. And he hit that same trouble spot everybody else had, and the back end started to come around just a little bit. And then once he hit it, it broke, the geometry, and then it was on from there. Honestly, at the speed he was going compared to everybody else, I was surprised that that wasn't as big a bigger hit than it was. I mean, it was a big hit. It was a hell of a hit because he was falling, but. I was expecting that to be truthfully a bigger hit, and the car wasn't nearly as destroyed as I would have expected. I mean, the front end had a lot of crush damage, but I really expected it to just be done.
I
So,
think he got extremely lucky to
yeah,
walk away from that.
yeah. And for his age and his problems he's had with his back, when he broke it at California in 2013, when they first got into the Gen 6 and all those kind of issues he's had. Uh, and last year where he battled with, an issue with his wrist and everything, he definitely lucked out on that one. And that's one he's going to have to look back on and say, sometimes the team misses you an opportunity with a bad pit call. That was entirely, he'll probably come back at the end of his career if he doesn't win this race before he retires and say, I threw that one away for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
That's one of those that he definitely had. Definitely a winning capable car, and he still had a good car for Sunday. That's the crazy thing. Like on Sunday, when they put all that effort in that backup car was still pretty stout.
Well,
Uh,
they had a fresh engine in it. That's what a lot
yeah,
of people don't realize. Not only did they go to a backup, they also put a fresh engine in it. And I think at Indy, a fresh engine is
yeah,
plus 10 horsepower probably over everybody else. Just kind of
yeah, because it doesn't have
throwing
the
a number
cycles
out
and
there.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah. So after Cup qualifying, well, let's give Chase Briscoe his due. Not only has he won, they're on now that they've gotten comfortable. I mean, they have taken every crown jewel pole so far this year, and they
and
are,
they've been on the front row for 6 straight weeks, I believe it is.
yep, they are on it. Them and two things you can guarantee right now in this sport. It seems like Connor Zilich winning Xfinity race because he's
And
three
Chase
for
Briscoe
three,
have been on the front row.
and Briscoe being on the front row. So
Hmm.
that's pretty much the only two things you can guarantee.
I do
But
think that ends this weekend, though. I really do.
at Iowa, which one?
Yeah,
One or both?
Briscoes.
Maybe. I mean, the Toyotas, if well, we'll get to that. So
Yeah,
we'll see. Um, but all right, so let's move into the Xfinity race. The Xfinity race was, these cars always race well there. Again, would love to see with the small track, but they raced well. And uh, you know, Justin Allgaier, they were the lead up into this week was Dale Jr. When he was talking on his podcast last week, they were approaching JRM's 100th win. He was hoping he would be there for it because he's scheduled to do a lot of traveling upcoming, things like that. Now he's done with his TV schedule appearance and stuff like that for the broadcasting appearances for the year. So leading into it, Allgaier has contributed a lot to the success of the JRM team as a whole. Championship, tons of wins, and you know, he restarted, and um, Larson more or less, washed up into him, not purposefully, just you know, going for it and doing what Larson does. He only rides at one speed, and that's the ragged edge,
I
and just that
on
track.
that
Yeah, go
on
ahead.
that restart, I don't understand why Larson didn't choose the outside.
Yeah.
He got the lead from the outside, and then he goes the inside, and Allgaier does the same thing to him that he did to, I guess, was it Allgaier he did it to?
Yep. Where he launched it from the outside and carried the momentum.
Why 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 did anybody not choose the outside after that point? It didn't make any damn sense.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah, I've
know,
never understood that just in general. The way Indies corners are designed with their hard left hand, 90-degree corners, you want to give yourself as much of an arc going as possible. So from the outside, you have a better arc. You come in high, shoot to the bottom, and then wash out when you come out the outside to the
yep.
center, to the short shoot, and then back out again. So I would think you would want to be on the outside because you carry more momentum. Now, yeah, the second lane is dirtier.
Especially in Xfinity with the stupid Talladega package they're running.
Yeah, more essentially the draft package. So,
Yeah.
um, but so that took two contenders out of it. So then, Zilich gets to the front, and behind him is where the insanity happens, where grain fed
Yeah.
Austin Hill just completely loses his mind, and Eric Almirola gets behind him, doesn't even touch him. Just the arrow, the capabilities of these cars, arrow makes you loose and you wash up. Austin Hill gets loose at those high speeds, saves it, doesn't wreck it, and then the gloves don't lie. He's wearing those white gloves, hooks it hard left, right rear hooks, Almirola at high speed, 180 plus into the wall, um, and going through that turn. I honestly couldn't believe it when I saw it just because, I mean, I could and I couldn't. Just because of the danger we're talking about here. Like, I guess I shouldn't be surprised because NASCAR has made the cars so safe and nobody's been hurt in such a long time and they haven't punished anybody for this behavior to the degree they did punish Austin Hill finally for uh that where they really should have. And because Almirola might not have walked away from that. That's the reality. Like you hit an unsafer barrier part of the wall. That car is not designed with the same safety that the next gen is. I mean, they're safe because that's the same chassis and design as what was in the Gen 6. All those things have flowed down. But I mean, Ryan Newman barely walked away from the Daytona 500, and that easily could have been the end of Eric Almirola's career right there.
Eric
And
said it was the
did it
second
without a
hardest hit he's
second
ever
stop.
taken.
Sorry, go ahead.
Eric said it was the second hardest hit he's ever taken next to Kansas.
Yeah, I would like to see. I hope NASCAR releases like the actual total G's that were sustained in that
I
from
don't
the
see him doing that.
geometry. Um, just because I'd like to see where it ranks in terms of the forces hit. His hit was honestly a similar angle to what Dale Senior hit,
Yeah,
um, but at a much higher
probably
speed.
about it was probably
Much
about 40 mile an hour slower.
well, I say higher speed in terms of distance from the
Yeah.
time he turned to the time he hit the wall because it's a shorter track distance.
Okay.
So his hit the time for energy to scrub off, it probably was a faster hit overall
Okay.
than what Senior hit. But yeah, that was just crazy. The way that looked, that was brutal. And then for him
It,
to say, "Well, I didn't mean to do it," and then give NASCAR all the F bombs, and then Richard Childress to say he doesn't deserve to be like you guys have clearly lost your damn mind.
yeah.
So I think everybody, I know all of our group were immediately like they need to park his ass. I don't
Well, that's
know
what I
any,
didn't
I
understand.
can't think of a
You only
single
get.
fan that I'm friends with that said he wasn't guilty. Like,
Well, I told Chris earlier. One of my first initial watching it, I didn't think he did it on purpose. I felt like it was kind of like one of those things where you let the car set and the car whipped to the left. That's how it looked to me at first.
mm,
But when Richard Childress did not um, do the thing where you appeal it, I
yep,
felt like maybe Austin told him, "Yeah, I did it on purpose." Maybe he told him behind closed doors, "Yeah, I did." But even if the black box tells you the steering wheel turned, it doesn't mean he turned it, in my
right.
opinion.
Yep. And so Denny did try to give him the benefit of the doubt, but let's rewind. So immediately after the race, you see Dale Jr.'s tweet be retweeted from last year where Austin Hill said, "Let me be an example for, the young guys coming up in the garage." That was comical,
Mhm.
first off. Like, you have no room to speak. You're an ass clown. As far as the garage is concerned, yeah, you're a good plate racer, but as far as owners are concerned, you're not someone any owner out there is looking at hiring anytime soon because
I kind of wonder if RC lets him go after this year because he's had nothing to. I mean, yes, he wins on plate tracks, but other than that, all he is a big issue. He has the hottest head in
Mhm.
that series right now, and all he does is cause issues. He's got Bennett transportation and everything, but he can get another driver with another sponsor to come in there that doesn't create all that problems.
Well, to me, he's a much bigger, bulkier farmer, grain-fed version of Carson Hocevar, except for he's got way more experience, so he has no excuses for the behavior and the way he does things that Hocevar has done. Except Hocevar, for the most part, continues to learn from it, where we see every so often, here comes uh, Austin Hill, and anytime somebody messes with him, he loses his crap. I mean, just go back to last year at Martinsville, and he caused that waylay. And the year before, same Martinsville cutoff race, he's part of the problem. Like, he is a continual part of the issues. So the dislike for him is not, it's not like it's unfounded.
Yeah.
He's clearly part of the problem. But yeah, I think we all expected or felt like he should be suspended. Honestly, I was surprised yesterday when NASCAR said they were suspending him. Not because I didn't think he should be. I was surprised because NASCAR came out with this new rule. Says if you get suspended and you can get a waiver for the playoffs, but you forfeit all your playoff points. And we talked about this earlier in the year when Austin Cindric hooked Ty Dillon, and we were debating, okay, should speed matter? No, it shouldn't. We said it shouldn't at the time. And the funny thing is now people like Dale Jr. have come back to our side where he said, well, it's not as egregious here, but it is here, and da 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 da. When Bubba hooked him at hooked Larson at Kansas, right?
Vegas.
Vegas, at Vegas, and Chase and so forth. So the debate was whether or not at the beginning of the season would NASCAR, when push came to shove, stand behind their own policy and knowing the consequences that it carries. Like, and to your point about whether or not RC will let him go, if Austin doesn't make the playoff make it through the rounds of the playoffs because he lost all those playoff points, I could see him letting him go because you just cost me not just a chance at the title, because yeah, you're going to make it into there, but you just made it massively, numerous orders of magnitude harder on yourself to get there. But you just cost me millions of dollars in sponsorship bonuses and other things based on where I seed for the year because I'm starting from zero when I get in there. And at the end of the day, all of that stuff matters. So um, I could very well see a scenario where Austin Hill's on the unemployment line looking for a new job next year, just because of the amount of money he just cost Richard Childress. And at the end of the day, Richard Childress, yeah, he's got a lot of sponsors, but he doesn't have the same caliber of sponsors as like Rick Hendrick or Penske. He doesn't have as big a names, that
Yeah.
are bigger budgets. They're smaller, multiple more companies, smaller companies. So, and his operation is smaller. He can't really afford to give up, the kind of inventory and finances that he probably just did with that incident from Austin Hill. So I'm glad to see NASCAR stand behind their rule. I think it sets a precedent. Obviously, it sets a precedent that they're willing to do what they said they're going to do and sends a shot across the bow to the rest of the garage that says, fuck around and find out. We told you if you did
I
something like that and it was deliberate and we knew it was deliberate and could tell it was deliberate, we were going to sit you. And they did
I
it.
gotta agree with RC though. They penalizing him, but they didn't penalize Austin Cindric.
Oh no, I agree. I think they blew the call with Cindric. We can go back and look at it, and people have gotten hurt. You can die in a 40-mile-an-hour car crash just as
Hmm.
easily as you can die in a 140-mile-an-hour car
Look
crash.
at
Because the
look at
human
the
body at the end of the day is fragile. It takes very little to paralyze somebody for the rest of their life to
look at
cause
the
that.
crash that took Jerry Nadeau out of the series. It
Yep,
was at Richmond, and he hit driver's side flat, and wasn't going that fast.
right.
So you just got to take that into account, and it's probably about as fast as the Ty Dillon, or was it Ty Dillon he
It was
spun?
Ty Dillon.
That's about as fast as Ty Dillon was spinning, probably, and did nothing about it because it's a road course,
Yep.
and that's just stupid to me. At a road
Well,
course, left hook, right hook, it don't matter. You should get penalized.
well, I think if it happens again at a road course, you'll get this same kind of penalty. I think NASCAR learned a lot between that race earlier this year at Coda when it happened and now because first they set him for 5 laps immediately. Then,
I feel like they should have just parked him,
agreed. They should have just, if you're taking him for 5 laps and taking him out of the race, you should have just ended his day. All right,
especially
dude.
at the point of the race it was. 10, I mean, 10 laps to go or whatever. Just put in the damn garage.
Like I would have parked him right then and there, and then I would have reserved the right to suspend him like they did.
Yeah,
But what I would have done after the foul language to the officials on the radio, it wouldn't have been a one race. It'd have been 2 races. Because
yep.
at the end of the day, we're the sanctioning body, and you want us to treat you with respect, you're going to treat us with respect. You can say whatever you want inside that car. You don't have to hit that button. And we're trying to be a family friendly
Well,
friendly sport. So
do
I
what
would have.
Fatback did to Bobby Labonte. Had two buttons on the steering wheel. What's the second button? When you want to bitch and moan and cry, you hit that button. What's it
Yep.
do? Nobody can hear
Just say whatever you want to say. I can hear you.
you.
Nobody else can hear you. Yep. It goes into the ether. So I'm really surprised that they didn't hit him with a financial penalty after the fact, at least for the conduct. Forget the separate
Yeah,
from the turning of him. I was expecting a financial penalty and like an anger
access
management
detrimental
direction
to
to.
smart car racing.
I would like to see NASCAR or not NASCAR. I'd like to see Richard Childress send him to anger management. I think that would show that RC understands there's a problem, but they're a different kind of group over there, so we'll see. But so anything else you want to say about that? I think we've covered it all, but
No, I just Zilich is on fire, and
yep,
I I gotta say this. I gotta pick on him. My little brother, he said, I think it's high time somebody grabs Zilich. Maybe Rick Hendricks should park Alex Bowman, put Zilich up there. I said, buddy, he's under contract with Trackhouse, bud.
yep.
So it was funny to kind of knock him down a little bit because he's like, he needs to be with somebody, he needs to get to a cup team. Like, dude, he's going to be running Trackhouse next year. What are you talking about?
I'm just thinking about it. So like JRM has been around for a long time, but they've just now hit 100 wins. If they had someone like Colin or Zilich in a role like Algeier for let's say 5 years, I think they'd be just under 200 wins fairly quickly. There's
Oh yeah,
30 something races, and he'd be damn near winning probably 35 to 40% of them every year,
yeah.
at
And
least, and only getting
I think
better.
I think this weekend will be a big test for him. I don't think he's really done all that great on the shorter tracks with
Yeah.
the ovals. So this
He did
week will be
okay
a
at
big.
Phoenix in his debut there last year. Um,
I don't consider that a short track though.
no, but it's similar to Iowa in terms of scale. It's not banked anything like a Richmond or an Iowa, but it's,
Yeah.
you know, it's comparable in scale. But so moving on to Cup is pretty much a follow the leader race. Everybody had different strategies, but I'll say that, that doesn't really, nothing about that bothers me. This race has always been about who shows up with the most horsepower,
The
executes the best.
strategy of this race was amazing
Yep.
all around.
Who has the,
I loved the strategy this past weekend.
yep.
The two car, the 22, the 21. I felt like
Yep.
their strategy was absolutely perfect, and I felt like the 23 and the 45 was just behind that.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the two blowing that right rear tire and the 22,
Yeah.
they both blew tires, and if that doesn't happen, you're seeing a Penske car in victory lane and not
Yeah.
a 2311 car.
You know what the strategy really reminded me of? So you go here and all right, we're not four wide like we are at Talladega or Daytona where you can't pass, but we know that it's pretty much follow the leader and it's going to be hard to pass. What Penske did at this race is what I wish some teams would do at Daytona and Talladega. Drop the hammer and let's see how it goes. Do something different. Penske did something different. They were going to control the outcome of that race at the end of the day. They were on a totally different strategy. Eric Jones tried to get on their strategy. It was going to work had they not had the loose wheel. They were going to be right there with him. And he was fast in qualifying. Uh, even though he touched the wall, he still was in the top seven. So, I mean,
And, and that brings up another thing. When are these crew members going to realize that if the car is on the ground, you're doing nothing? You,
yep,
the car's on the ground. You might be hitting the gun back, but you ain't
yep,
doing nothing. Call for your jackman to come back around so you
yep.
don't get 2 weeks off, unless that's what you're going for.
Well, that's the funny thing. Like anybody who knows how to change a tire understands that when you put a tire on a hub, whether it's the single lug like NASCAR has or the five lugs on your personal car, you are not doing anything to tighten that thing other than adding some additional torque, really, once it hits the ground. Because there's no way with the 3,000 pounds dispersed across those four contact points, especially when it's shifted to one side. and you've got the primary portion of the weight leaning on a side, you're not tightening that up anymore. It's as tight as it's getting. So if it's loose, it's going to stay loose. You're not really going to be able to over torque it um, and get it on there any better than it already was. So if you didn't get it right the first time, you're kind of screwed. And so, yeah, I was sad to see that for Jones because Legacy had two really fast cars. I mean, at the end of the day, they were primed for a really good showing.
Yeah, I
And a
think
place that Jimmy Johnson's won four times. So,
they're on the cusp of doing something great. They just got to jump that hump, and they'll be there.
yep, you can
Um,
see it with their restructure this year and Johnson getting a new partner and taking full control of the team. And basically, all right, Petty's just, I don't even think he's even affiliated with it anymore. I think it
he
was
is
a naming
still
thing.
a
It's like a naming thing, basically, like a,
he's still like some sort of representative for the
yeah.
team. He has nothing financially to do with them.
Yeah, but it's not, he has no decision making, basically.
Right. That's
It's
what.
it's
Yeah.
Johnson plus his partners. But the
Talk
restructuring,
to the
just
board.
like with Colleague, yeah, just like with Colleague and the bringing over of Ty Norris, you've seen those two teams elevate themselves this year, slowly but steadily. Uh, so I was hoping for a good day, not only because I picked Jones in my fantasy lineup against my dad. He was there till he blew a tire, and I was like, damn it. But so we continue through the race. We have a couple more issues, and then we get down toward the end, and Bubba's leading, Larson's running him down, and Bubba's outright going to win this race on speed. Uh, Larson, it would have been a hell of a battle to see him if they had just maintained that without that little sprinkle shower coming. But you know,
Oh,
as
Larson
you
wasn't going to catch him. There's
no,
no way. Well, when there was about seven to go, eight to go, I got my phone on HBO Max and got on Bubba's on board, and essentially they were just telling him just to cruise.
yep, just
So,
manage the gap. Yeah,
and so when Larson got within, I think 3 seconds, they that's basically what they said, manage the gap. And I mean, there was no way, and it proved they went not one green white checker, but two. He
yep,
did. He had enough to do that, plus do burnouts and
hmm
get back to victory lane. That car had enough gas to do probably three green white checkers or maybe four.
yep,
So he was going to win the race outright. If the rain came with when it came and they're under red flag and they didn't get back going, yeah, there's going to be some assholes out there that said another rain win. Well, he was going to win regardless. I
yep,
mean, so
yep,
they had an amazing strategy, a fast car. He qualified second, didn't he?
yes,
Third
yep.
or something. So,
No, he
I
was
mean,
second.
yeah. So he had a very
He
fast
was
car.
second. Briscoe was first, and Briscoe was going to be second if Hamlin had finished that lap, and Bubba would have moved back to third. But yeah,
He had a great strategy. So, and with when they went green with 30 to go or 50 to go or whatever it was, I I uh I said to my girlfriend, I said, we need this race to go green and Larson will win it. I didn't take into account people taking right sides only, and
yeah,
I didn't take that into account at all. And I was like, oh my God, what in
yeah.
the
The whole
hell?
first stage, I want to say that was it the 22 or the 12. One of them stayed on their left sides like the whole first and I think second stage. Like they didn't wear it all. It was just
Yeah,
the right sides that gave you your advantage.
yeah.
So I've been an avid critic of Bubba, not because of his performance on the track, but just because of some of the things he said in the media. But I was happy for him. Like that,
Was too.
that was a statement win, not just because it's Indianapolis, but this is one of those tracks, regardless of its history through other series, just with NASCAR, that nobody lucks into a win here.
Unless your
You
name is
have,
Paul Bernard.
well, that was fuel mileage too. That was still strategy.
I had to though.
I'm still mad about that because Gordon was coming, but he was two more laps. Gordon wins that race, but
Yeah.
uh, they showed up, they executed flawlessly, something that they are not known for. They've had plenty of speed, They usually step on their toes. And yes, or Sunday, they did everything right. Bubba made all the right moves. He made great restarts. He didn't, even though he said he got in his head, he didn't, or he started to creep into his own head. He didn't get in his head and make a mistake. Uh, and ultimately they crossed the line first, beat Larson on the restarts. I want to talk about that. So, were you as angry as I was? Because after the rain, they said, okay, we're going to let, Byron, being Byron, we're going to stick with our teammate. So we go to
Did they say
restart and
that?
choose. Yes, they did. They said it over the radio. It was repeated in the broadcast. We're going to stick with our teammate. So
Wow.
it's time to choose. Where's he line up? Behind Bubba.
Behind Bubba twice.
So twice, not once, but twice. So, and I've seen people argue that, well, that prevents the 11 from pushing the 23. And in my head, I'm like, so what if the 11 pushes the 23? The 11 doesn't have race winning speed. He's in a backup car. He's not going to have the same amount of power as the guys who are in their A cars. I think if the 24 is lined up behind the 5 wins that race.
Here's
Especially on,
here's
not maybe not on the second restart, but on that first restart where they were going through their side by side. If Byron had been on his bumper and been able to give him a push, I think Larson gets past him.
I think that Byron was being butthurt from when Larson passed him with 60 to go or whatever it was.
Yep,
Larson was on his back bumper going through one and down the short chute. The 24 slowed up. Larson took advantage and went for it and took the spot. I think Byron was being butthurt.
yep. I really so even though they do all these commercials and Team Chevy things and show Chase and Byron and Bowman and Larson together and these HMS videos, I really think it's Chase kind of in his own little island, Larson, who's the A driver there, doing whatever he wants, and he gets along with everybody. And then you got Byron, who really doesn't like being third or fourth in line, especially when he's getting constantly upstaged by the most popular driver, and who is more talented than him. And the other guy, who's the A driver, who is immensely more talented than him. And then if you could make the argument that I would say Bowman is more talented than him in reality, but you don't. Bowman just doesn't. He hasn't had the crew like of the all around package to get the same results. I think if you give Bowman a different crew setup, he matches or exceeds Byron because Byron, kind of like Blaney or Hill, when things don't go his way, he makes mistakes. Bowman's pretty smooth, no matter what happens. Similar to Chase, he's very calm and collected. We're having a hot dog. Okay. Are we going to Martinsville next?
Uh, Remy wanted the
Uh,
hot dog, I guess.
so that's my take. I think, like
Yeah,
I said, I think Byron can't stand losing to Chase or to not Chase. I mean, he probably can't stand losing to Chase, but he definitely can't stand losing to Larson. Here comes Larson, who was suspended and everything, and Byron is like, "You're in the 24 car. You're going to be heralded as the next Jeff Gordon, da 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 da, because he put you in this 24 car." And then here comes Larson, and whose pit box is Gordon on most of the time? Larson's.
lately he's been on the 48.
Well, he's been over
Ever
there
since
cheering for the 48, trying to get him in the thing. But I'm just saying, in general, when you look at
you're right.
Gordon on a weekend, he's usually on the 5. He's a
Well, he
very
does
biased
own the
vice
car.
president.
He
Yeah,
does own that car, so
yeah. So, uh,
I like to screw around with people about that. They all think he still owns the 48, but when they did all those damn crew swaps when Larson
you
came
got the
in,
numbers, and yeah,
the number moving around, he owns the 5, not the 48.
yep,
So he's gonna be more invested in that car.
hmm.
So, but
So,
with this a little bit more added, I had people messaging me like, "Why is he not lined up behind him?" Like, who knows, dude? Like,
you know,
but with the fact that they knew they were going to run out of gas, they knew it. The 24 said they could not do two green white checkers. They knew it, and they
yep,
didn't. And yet he still tried to push the wrong car. Like,
yep. Well, that's the thing.
I hope that they talked about that in the Monday meeting because the entire team and Larson's guilty of it too.
Yeah.
There's times where he doesn't help the 24-9 or whatever, but
Hmm.
the whole team doesn't help each other ever.
Yep. And
I have not seen
that's what I
them
was going
help
to say.
each other in months.
That's what I was going to say is that unlike the other, so Hendrick is obviously an A tier team. JGR is an
They
A
are
tier team.
the A to your team.
They are the A tier team. JGR is the other A tier team. And I can't say Penske's not an A tier team. They've won the last four next gen championships consecutively. So they've won every one of them so far. 22, 23. Oh, sorry,
Three.
three. 22,
I was like,
23, 24. Yep. So you can't say they're not an A tier. They now of those three A tier teams, only two of them operate as a team. HMS, even though they're a team and they've restructured to operate as a team, they operate, the drivers themselves operate as an everyman for themselves, which that's fine, except for when you're racing against two other A tier teams where at the end of the day, the three drivers plus Wood Brothers, making it four with Penske, and all four JGR drivers understand the goal. The goal is to get that company the win at the end of the day. They race more like an IndyCar team or more like a Formula One team. The goal
yep.
is the company. The brand matters more than the name on the above the post. And you see that with the sacrifices, especially at drafting with Penske or um, some of these races like this weekend and other races where JGR will make sure that, okay, I'm not going to pass this guy because I don't, or I line up a certain way because I do not want to lose this race for Joe Gibbs. I think I could win it, but if I can't guarantee it, I'm not going to put us in a position to lose this race.
I I can tell
And Hendrick
you
routinely throws those kind of victories away because they don't race with the team mentality. Go ahead, buddy.
the last time I saw Larson act as a teammate was at Martinsville. He let Chase go because Chase ran him down.
This spring or
And
fall?
this past Martinsville,
Okay, spring. Okay.
he let Chase go. There was he was running second or third. He let Chase go because he ran him down from like a half straightaway back. And I'm thinking, well, if he doesn't, and I'm thinking Formula One kind of stuff.
Mhm.
That he let it was obvious. He pulled over, he went and pulled back in, and I'm like, okay. And Chase never made up any ground, so I was like, well, he should give that spot back.
Yeah.
Never happened. And I
Yeah.
kind of wonder if I'm thinking about it, maybe Larson's thinking about it. I know it's just 1 point, but maybe he's thinking about,
Yep.
well, shit, I did something nice and got what out of it, you
Yep.
know. So, but I haven't seen him do anything as far as help try to, go with a teammate since.
Yeah.
So I know I haven't seen William Byron help Larson in a
Ever.
year and a half, at least a year and a half.
Well, I don't see them
So
work together in the plate races. I don't see
no, he
them.
bails on him left and right.
Oh yeah. Yep. Byron's in it for himself, and that's fine. Um, Byron races like Dale Jr. like to race for plate races, which is fine, but these cars don't work like that. You need the help. So you've got to work together, and they don't, which is why Penske wins them and JGR wins them, and the others don't. They're not willing to work together. They concede the wins early by not sticking together, understanding that numbers are what win these races. So, um, that was my point that I want to talk about with the final restarts was, they're once again they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. We want to help our teammates, then they go and you screw your teammate. And you can make the argument that by being behind the 23 that the 11 couldn't get a push on the 23. That's fine. But you definitely left Larson out there all by himself. So
Yep.
either way,
And
and
and knowing, and TV brought this up, and it was good for them to bring it up. Knowing that Bubba is one of the best restarters in the damn field,
yep, yep, statistically from a
you're
defensive
not gonna
metric,
help your
he is.
teammate in that situation. Bubba, I think Bubba's top five restart for the year
Hmm.
in
He's
restart
third.
stats.
He's third.
So you're not going to help him. You're
Well,
going to
like,
line up behind him. You're going to line up behind Bubba when he's top three restarter of the year. That just it's infuriating. As a Larson fan, it's infuriating. I'm stoked for Bubba,
yeah,
and
I'm happy for
I think
Bubba. I'm more mad that HMS threw away the win by not working together to at least give themselves a chance. They didn't even. They brought a knife to a gunfight. You're restarting on the outside lane, and in this car, the outside lane was a disadvantage.
yeah.
The you
You would
know
need to
that
have
your other guy is.
a half a car length advantage by midway through the corner to have pulled off the pass, and he never did.
You knew you were going to run out of gas. So if you're not willing to come down pit road, why would you not do everything you could to at least make sure one of your cars for this team wins the race? You're not going to win it from the second row. Bubba's got fuel. You know you're out. Why wouldn't you push your teammates? So
Yeah.
yeah, that was bad in my opinion. Um,
I got a shout out for another driver in the field. That'd be Catherine Legg.
yep, that was
Finishing
immensely impressive.
17th on lead lap in front of Chase Briscoe and SVG and you know, right behind him, William Byron who ran, I guess, but that's insane. That
Yeah,
the not only that it's Catherine Lake, the car she's driving is the 78 car.
yep.
That car is not it's not a fast car
The
at
most
all.
underfunded car in the field, hands down.
Even under the 44.
I forget about that car. I'm thinking like of like big teams, like you've got your back
Of the
markers we're
teams
used
that
to
run
hearing,
full
like the
time.
Rick Wares and stuff like that. Yeah.
They're the only unchartered full time team there is, I'm pretty sure,
Mhm.
outside of the newly unchartered teams.
Yeah. But yeah, the point still stands. Earlier this year, we were having the discussion about the special provisional BS rule, whatever, for people to get in, and they went back and clarified it. But so with the limited amount of practice, extremely limited amount of practice, extremely limited amount of stock car experience, i.e., none prior to this year, really. Um, to see her get in there, do that, shows you what she is capable of. Now imagine giving her the time to develop and a good car, you know.
Yeah.
So
And I believe she's Denny's age.
yeah, like that was
So
impressive,
so
very
for her to
impressive.
be in I think it's her fifth or sixth Cup car start, and you know, she's finishing 17th at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at Brickyard 400 is just insane to me.
Yep.
She did go down a lap early. She got a lap back, but she was running second under one of those fuel strategies for laps, not just, one lap. It was for a while. She was running
Yeah.
top three. I
Yep.
know it's a fuel strategy game and stuff like that, but still, that's
You still got to
insane.
maintain the position and not fall
Yep.
backwards.
So, and I watched the last few laps on her onboard, and she was doing some good lines and, making some moves that you kind of have a hard time imagining for that car. So I
Yep.
just wanted to
Yep.
throw that out there. I
Yep.
don't know if any other podcast has done that, but
They have, but yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. So moving on from the race weekend, we're we had a lot of news earlier in the week. We've got okay. So last week you and I talked. I said I wasn't a big fan of us going racing in San Diego
I
because
agreed.
I
Now
was
I don't.
worried. I was worried about the conditions of the roads and everything. Having traveled out there a lot for work, where are they going to run? You know, kind of the same problems you have with Chicago. You know, you're by the border, all this stuff, and then they come out of nowhere and say we're going to race. We're Top Gun, the Navy SEALs, aircraft carriers, like all this prestigious base. So take it away.
I When they announced that they were going to be on this Navy base, Navy, right? When they announced that,
Yeah, it's
I was
Navy.
like, oh wow, this is totally different. So you're
Yeah,
not
I
going to
didn't
have to
see
go
that
over
coming. I don't think anybody
railroad
saw that
tracks.
coming.
You're not going to have to go over top of this or that. You're not going to have to really. You're not going to have to close down a street. You're
Yep.
going to be on a naval base, and the fact that it's on their 250th anniversary, um, I think it changes the entire allure of San Diego, the way us fans were thinking about it.
Yep.
I'm sure the media was thinking this way too. Where the hell are we going to go in San Diego?
Yep. They wanted to go there because of the market, but like, where are you going to race? There's so many
Yeah.
areas, and it's a very diverse landscape there.
So I spoke to quite a few people that don't really watch racing anymore, my dad included, and he's like, "That's interesting. I kind of like the idea of that." So,
Yep.
uh, we both agree we're too road course heavy right now. But it sounds we're not. This is a sidebar, and it was going to be later, but we're not going to Mexico next year.
Yep.
So hopefully, we're not going to add another road course somewhere else. So we're going to subtract a road course. So that's a plus
Yep.
because we're not going to Chicago streets. We're going to go to Chicagoland. So with that being said, I think this is a great thing. I'm kind of surprised they didn't do it on Fourth of July weekend
Right. That's the only thing I
because
think that's
of
weird.
that.
Or
It's
the
coming
Navy's
week
birthday.
five.
If you were going to do
It's
this at a
June
naval base,
19th. So when's the Navy's birthday?
let me don't everybody hate me because I was in the Navy, but I don't remember. I've been out for 15
Uh,
years. All right.
guys, I need y'all to look up Allen Harkle Road.
October 13th. Okay. So
All right.
we definitely weren't going to run this in October, though San Diego is pretty much beautiful year round.
Yeah.
So, um, I agree. I'm surprised they didn't run it on July 4th. It would have been a perfect spot on the calendar for it, or the Navy's birthday in October, but that would have put it in the playoffs. And I don't think they're going to do that. They're not going
We're
to
not
do a
going to
brand new
playoffs
track
next
in
year.
the playoffs, like a completely one-off brand new thing in the play.
We're not doing playoffs next year.
I wish, but that's
They're
not
going
true.
to listen to NASCAR's most popular driver, we're going to go.
We're gonna get to that, but that ain't happening. Prime for primary, maybe, but we'll get to that big load of bullshit. So, so anyway, the race in San Diego. We talked last week. I was vehemently against going to San Diego. This totally changed my mentality on it. If I didn't think I'd be traveling for work, this would be a definite must go to. I've been to Navy bases,
Really?
obviously, buy my
I
stuff
missed that.
because I can just imagine. I know how the bases go all out for people when they come in for air shows like the Blue Angels, the Thunderbirds, all those kind of things. Um, so when they open the doors to the public for this, it's going to be something else. And I can just imagine, okay, you're going to be racing the size of this base. You're going to race by the beaches where the SEALs train. You're going to race by the flight line where the aircraft carriers are. You're going to race down the front where like all the supply stuff, like the layout of this place is going to it's going to be insane.
Not to
And what it
mention,
makes
they're
me
going
think
to have
of,
an aircraft carrier sitting right beside the
yeah,
where they're racing.
well, they're going to need to back
You
up
know they're
some
going
because
to have
if you
that.
flip a car, you're in the water. So you're going to back up a
Well,
little
I
bit.
think they're going to be off of that, but you're
Yeah.
good. The camera shot's going to have an aircraft carrier
Yeah.
behind it.
Oh, yeah. They're huge. Believe me, you won't be able to miss them. They're like the size of the Empire State Building, but laying flat. You won't miss
Yeah.
them.
Um,
And I guarantee you, unless there's a war happening, they will move ships around just to be in that shot.
yeah.
There will be that.
And
Now, I will say, having been in the Navy, I hate this for the service members because they're going to have to be on their best behavior. They're going to be in their dress uniforms. As somebody who's been in the Navy and gone through this dog and pony show, and everybody on that base is going to have to do it, they're going to be fucking miserable because they're going to
because
have
it's
to
going to
be
be hot.
well, it's going to be hot. You're going to be in your dress uniforms. You're going to be on TV. You're going to be, and they're going to like that experience. But when you have to play dog and pony for a whole 3 day weekend, it fucking sucks. As somebody who's done it, it's just not fun because,
It,
I've done presidential burial details. When, not when Carter, but when Bush Senior passed, or yeah. Bush Senior passed and Reagan passed, I had to do, we had to line the streets when we were stationed in DC. So I know how this part goes for them, and that's going to suck for them. But as an event, I think it's going to be amazing. One of the logistical things I worry about, and some of the people that called into Sirius mentioned as well, having been out there before, there's not a lot of ways in and out of that base. And it's a restricted base because of the things I mentioned. This Navy SEALs train there. Top Gun is there. You know, there's all these things. So with that being said, I'm curious when you buy tickets, if you're going to have to fill out any type of personal questionnaire because you have to get base access. It's just not when you come on, we look at your driver's license, we look you up.
What you're
So,
saying is this is not a StubHub situation.
no, it's
You're
not a
not going to be able
StubHub
to sell these
situation.
on StubHub.
I'll be interested to see when tickets officially go on sale because they're doing down payments right now for pre-sale. But when tickets officially go on sale, I'll be interested to see what they allow you to come on base with in terms of your bags and stuff like that, and what kind of paperwork you have to fill out to get your base access pass. People that go to these shows all the time go through it, but it is different. You're not just going to any normal facility. You're going to, and these facilities become more and more protected, not less. So it'll be interesting. There's going to be long lines for traffic. So hopefully that doesn't deteriorate or take away from the
I,
experience.
I did read that the truck series on Friday will possibly be for Navy members only,
That'd be awesome.
for just Navy, people, Navy personnel and family.
Okay.
So it would be a 2 day thing that's instead of three for, you know, as far as, getting
Yeah.
people in and out. I don't know if
Now,
that's true, but it's something I read.
one of the other things that I think will be interesting is so, we love racing. Just the thought of this course gives me like Need for Speed vibes or Burnout vibes, like those fantasy courses where you race on old airfields
Well,
and
so that's what this
your
is, right? Is
cities,
an
or like
airfield.
midnight. Well, I mean, yeah, there's aircrafts there, there are airfields there because of the flight training, the pilot training.
What I'm asking is the place that they showed, like the area they showed, is that not an airfield?
Yeah,
Is
that was
that
an
not?
airfield. Those are hangars.
It's
Yep.
not an airfield now, though.
No, it is.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. I didn't know if.
Yeah, if you look
I
out,
mean,
if you did like a geographic overlay of the base and looked at it with like the Google Earth imagery, you can see where there's the air hangars, the piers, and stuff like that, um, and kind of the layout of all the possible options. So it'll be interesting. So I think that'll be cool. It's probably going to be a one and done, is what it sounds like from what Ben Kennedy said,
oh, I
but
didn't think that. Okay.
only because logistically coordinating something with the Navy every year, that's one, it's expensive. It also ties into operational mission stuff. Like there's stuff that if you're not a military person, holding an event like this impacts the ability to conduct real world missions because you have people coming and going, you have things going on that you don't want video cameras around for. You
Yeah,
have
I
prep,
get that.
you have so you have to have
Well,
interrupt. They're going to have cameras all over that base, right? For this thing, there's going to be certain areas they're not going to be allowed to go because, again, it's U.S. Navy SEALs training ground. So they'll have a dog and pony show probably for that part. But there's going to be certain portions where you're not going to be able to go anywhere near because we don't want you filming what's going on over there and how we train these, special operators or how we maintain our fighter jets or whatever the case may be. There's going to be the forward facing piece, but then if you're preparing for like a ship for deployment, for example, and this is way off out there, but anybody who's never been in the military, in order to host something like this that's public facing, it usually has some type of impact in how you do your scheduling for all your stuff. So I don't know that you'd be able to do it multiple years at a time because of all the different operational needs and schedules. So we'll see.
well, maybe that's why, and we'll go ahead and curtail this into this.
Yep, go ahead.
Mexico is not getting a race next year. Even after everybody shows a raving success,
Right.
maybe this is a spot holder for Mexico
Could be.
potentially.
Okay.
So maybe that's possible. I'm hoping that they just don't go back because personally, I didn't like the course. I didn't like what the teams had to go through. I didn't like the fact that just the fact that teams couldn't even drink the water or order
Right.
anything with
That some
ice in
people
it.
were still sick for a couple weeks after going.
A friend of mine just went to somewhere, I can't remember where, but he drank bottled water the entire time, and he did have a they wherever he was they put beer, ice and beer,
Yep.
and he came back, he had a coli and something else.
Yep.
So like the teams having to deal with shit like that is just insanely
Yeah,
stupid.
if you're gonna drink water in Mexico, Latin American countries, some of these others, you have to boil it. It's not sanitary. It's not filtered the same way ours is. There's a price for, sanitary and freedom and all those things. I mean, that's a very real thing. Um, so, I mean, I'm glad we're not going back to Mexico, not just because of that, but just like I would like to see the NASCAR come out and show us what did we gain by going to Mexico? Show me tangible evidence how that helped us in TV numbers, sponsorship, activations, fans, engagement, all these things. All the money you spent
Honestly,
and all the money the team spent, show me the numbers. Because if you're going to argue that this is good for the sport, you should be able to easily show quantifiable evidence where by going here, it produced X return on the following sponsors, activations in these markets, new fans in the Latino market, whatever. Just like when you say going to the Coliseum was good for us. Argue it wasn't. It cost the teams a ton of money. It was good the first year, only in that it showed a concept of what could be done. That's the only merit I will say that was good about going to LA Coliseum for the Clash is that it showed you, because we know financially you're not going to build another racetrack ever with the what cost of things now. NASCAR's not willing to finish the small track at California, so we're definitely not going to build another short track ever again, let
yep.
alone a big mile and a half. So we've talked about that before. You got to race with what you got. So knowing that, the only good thing I can say about going to the Coliseum is it showed a new way for you to bring racing to an area that maybe doesn't have a track. Nothing else good came from that because all the fans that Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi say were good, that are part of the hip hop group and this rapper and that, guess what? They're not your longtime bread and butter. They're not the people who tune in every week. They're not the people who buy the tickets to come every week. And it wasn't a real sample of what we do every week. So they didn't stick around. And by the
No.
time we got to the third year, nobody was showing up. So to me, that was a waste.
Yep. For sure.
But so that, I mean that those are my feelings on. I have the same feelings about the Coliseum as I do about Mexico. Like, show me where it was good for the teams, the sponsors, especially with, like you said, the amount of money they had to invest, the security they had to have because the amount of money they brought down there in terms of equipment, personnel, etc., to protect it. You can't drink the water. You can't go out without an armed escort. You can't bring all that equipment across the border. And if you don't get out of the damn country in a certain time, you got to pay under the table to get your shit back. That's reality. Kevin
Hmm.
Harvick admitted that when they did the trucks down there, or the Xfinity cars, whichever one it was, he had to pay to get his hauler back. Tell me we need to go race in a corrupt country like that? Really? No, no, we don't.
That's
I
Ben
don't think so.
Kennedy. Ben
So
Kennedy will tell you anything you want to know.
now I will say, we hate on Ben Kennedy. I can't stand Ben Kennedy. I'm going to give him one good kudo here in that the San Diego race. Good job. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but that was a curveball that I think is actually good. You're rewarding you're rewarding less than 1% of this nation serves this nation. And you're rewarding those people who sacrifice everything with an event. I think that's amazing. You know,
I agree.
so um, I'm not
I
sure
will
what to
give
get into
Ben
that.
Kennedy a 1% kudo.
I give him a 1% kudo. All right. Now, if he can, let's move on to the. All right. You want to.
Chicagoland is
All
getting a
right. So
race.
yeah,
They
let's
haven't
go there. Okay.
officially announced it, but when Dale Jr. says Chicagoland's getting a race on X, you just pretty much can say they're getting a race.
Yep.
And he also said that's not the last thing to domino to fall. So it kind of makes you wonder what the hell else they got going on.
I'm hoping for Kentucky, but we'll
I'm
see.
I'm not hoping anymore. I've given up.
Don't give up, my friend. Don't give
And I
up.
say that because he was on Harvick's show, what, 2 weeks ago or something, and they
Yeah.
brought up, Kentucky, and he said, I've been asked about Kentucky several times, and maybe it's down the road. And I'm thinking, maybe what? Like, why is it a maybe? It is the only track you own that doesn't have a race.
Yep. Well, it's not just that. It's whether you own it and it doesn't have a race. If mile and a half racing was bad, I could see not going there. Road courses are bad, and yet you insist on doing the fucking Roval. But we won't go back to Kentucky, where the cars produce their best racing. It's just bad business.
Yeah.
Which one's going to sell more tickets, the Roval or Kentucky, where they literally the last time they were there were by less than a second, right, for the win? And then you got the slide job, and you've got at Chicago, you've got all these moments. You got Kurt Busch versus Kyle Busch out there when he won his monster win. You've got these moments and incredible racing at these tracks, and you haven't gone back to them. Meanwhile, we
You
keep
had
going
you had
to,
Cole Custer restarting seventh on a green white checker and winning
yeah,
the last race there.
but we go to Mexico, we go to Chicago, the city, we go to Coda, all three of which put on not good racing.
And as of yet, I have yet to hear them say they re-upped Coda.
I don't think they are. I'll
The
be,
deal is up after this year. So Coda is done by um, Marcus's group. So
yeah, by lending out a Texas date, but I'm hoping
yeah,
they
so
take their Texas, as much as Texas is not necessarily good. I would love for them to take Texas's date back and give it to Kentucky.
that's what I'm thinking is potentially on the table. But there's also they've got something on the table where they could have the All Star race at Wilkesboro and have a actual
Points race.
uh, points race there too. I mean, there's a chance of that as well.
So we'll see. I'm glad we're going back to Chicagoland. I've seen estimates where it's in the millions in repairs because they have left the facility just like Kentucky, untouched and basically unmanaged. I mean, if you watch Carson Hocevar's video walking around Chicagoland, every seam where the asphalt comes together, it looks very much like North Wilkesboro did. There's weeds and grass growing through everything. The paint is all deteriorated and faded and washed away. Some of the garages are in disrepair, stuff like that. So they're going to have to go in there and spend several million to bring it back to life. And that's just the cost. It's basically no different than neglecting your house. If you don't maintain
They
your
have
roof, you
it.
don't
They
maintain your driveway, then yeah, they've got it. It's just,
780 million they got from California sale.
it's just
I
more
don't
of
think they could spare 4 mil.
you invest all this money into a facility, why would you not maintain it? Why would you not have races at it? So the fact that they're going to have to go in there and drop a couple million, which I'm sure somehow, just like North Wilkesboro, they will con the state of Illinois, they will con the state of Kentucky into investing in this so
Well,
that we bring more
that
money into your market.
that's one of the reasons I've been very vocal about Kentucky Speedway is because when when they built the Speedway, which I will give this to Marcus's group, they did not SMI did or was it SMI? I get them
It's
mixed up.
SMI. It's SMI.
SMI did not build the track; they bought the track.
Yeah.
So but when they built the track, you know, a lot of that track was built by the tax dollar of Kentuckians. But
Yep.
also, when SMI bought it, they put money into it. And where did that money come from? The
Their own
Kentucky
pocket.
people.
Yep.
So the Kentucky people deserve, Kentucky and the tri state people deserve to have a race there because they've paid to have a race there.
Yeah.
That's why I've been so vocal about it. Now, if these owners built it with their own dollar, I wouldn't have anything as much to say about it. But I
Yeah.
have paid for that damn place, and I think I deserve to have a race there instead of having to drive. 7 hours to go see a good
Bristol,
event.
or yep. Nope, I'm 1,010% behind you. I have beaten up on Marcus on here before about that very thing. Everybody likes to give him credit for bringing North Wilkesboro back, and I continually bring up the point that he didn't do that out of the goodness of his heart. He did it because of the money that Trump, not Biden, Trump put out there during the COVID, leading into COVID for, you know, to rebuild the economy. And he utilized that money from North Carolina to rebuild it. He used the taxpayers' money. He didn't use his own damn money. He didn't use ISC or SMI's money. Whatever he did, whatever little bit he did, was on top of what he got from the North Carolinians and the other people, not just North Carolina, all the other 50 states citizens, because it was federal money that went to all these states for, infrastructure. So I'm sure people don't want to hear about this shit, but like it really pisses me off when you see these facilities that are just like a facility that it's no different than an NFL franchise. If you tax the taxpayers of that area and you use their money to build the facility and then you take that team and leave, that's wrong. And that's essentially what Marcus
I.e.,
Smith
St.
did
Louis.
with Chicagoland, or NASCAR did with Chicagoland and California, and NASCAR or Marcus Smith has done with uh, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Is you took their money, you used it for your facilities, you made yourself rich, and then you left. And the people who
And
paid for it got got screwed holding the
we,
bag.
I just remember something. We got to backtrack, and this you'll be on board with this because you like
Yep.
to bash NASCAR sometimes. This is the bash NASCAR moment. So this is for you, Alan Harper Road. NASCAR was with Ty Gibbs to give him $1 million check
Yep.
for
I,
winning
I
the
mentioned that.
in-season tournament. But did you see a NASCAR exec around the 2311 number 23 car that just won the event?
Who's taking their ass to court?
Anybody?
What?
Anybody? It
Nope.
was NASCAR there? No. Okay.
Oh, you just won $1 million in our first in-season tournament. Here's Steve Phelps. Meanwhile, over here, where the guy just won one of your crown jewels, there's only four, and it's the most hallowed racetrack in America, hands down. Has more racing history than any track in America. It's the most prestigious racetrack in all of the world. What? Oh, this was a NASCAR race? I wouldn't know. There's not a NASCAR official anywhere around. So I agree. As soon as I was watching those two things side by side, like you could see him waiting to do the announcement and hand the giant paper check or whatever. And then over here's Bubba celebrating nobody. It's kind of like when
Nobody.
it reminded me of when Brian Fance ran out or walked out, handed Jimmy the ring in a box and walked off stage. Like you couldn't have given a shit less that this dude just won his seventh championship.
There you go, buddy. See you. I got beer to drink.
Here you go. Like, thanks, Jimmy, for fucking up our show again. I hate you. You son of
Yep.
a. That's basically what it was.
But
So yeah, that was bad PR. Nobody has mentioned it other than, a select full of fans. But in other controversy, since we're on the controversy before we get to the actual playoffs, actually it's tied to the playoffs. So I don't know if you noticed, but Larry Mack and Danielle Trotta have been taking some heat this week and
yeah,
not just them. I mean, it's primarily them, but also. So did you listen to Actions Detrimental? First off,
I've only seen clips.
okay.
I'm
So
I'm off this week, and I'm kind of just taking it easy. So
all right. So if y'all haven't listened to Actions Detriment, first off, think you should be, whether you like Danny or not. He gives you a ton of great information. Love it. But we get to this topic, this very topic at the end. Danielle and Larry are very biased. Pretty much everybody on that channel is biased,
well, they are paid by NASCAR to run the channel.
right? They are paid by NASCAR. So they don't even pretend to be objective, especially Dave Moody. But, he's our buddy, you and me. So
Sure,
Denny
sure
talked
thing.
about how this all ties into the playoff conversation. So Mark Martin has been avidly advocating that we go back to the regular 36 race points uh, standard. And we've been talking about this for a while. This all resulted because of kind of like when 2003 rolled into 2004. Oh, Matt Kansas stunk up the show, won a single race, and then outpointed everybody and won. So you know what? Let's change everything. Well, last year, Joey Logano did exactly what the format was designed to do. Win in you're in, win when it matters most, win the championship. It doesn't say win the most races, accumulate the most points. It says win when it matters most, win you win or take all, win to advance, win to get in. He did all of those things. He won to got it to get in, he won to advance, and he won the last race when it mattered most. Whether you like it or not, he played by the exact rules and exactly what they wanted him to do. And we talked about that last year. So now we're talking about revamping the points. Mark Martin has advocated we go back to the traditional 36 race points accumulation, which is perfectly fine by me. I think it was idiotic the moment we went into the chase, and especially idiotic 10, yeah, 11 years ago now when we went into the playoffs format. You had a system that worked for 50 years, 50, and that got you to your highest fan viewership ever. And you deviated from that, and you have been going the
And,
wrong direction
and
ever
what happened
since.
with the fans after we got to that the chase?
Mhm.
From '04 to now, it's just been slowly going
Yep,
down.
yep,
But we don't want to peg it on the playoffs. We want to peg
yep.
it on other things.
So it started when they gave Sprint control. Then we shifted to we don't even care who the title sponsors is anymore and what they want. We care about what the TV people want. And we don't even care who shows up to the races. We just care about what TV wants. So inside the playoff committee, everybody agrees the one race winner take all is a bad way to declare a champion. I 100% agree with that. However, I have nothing against any of the last three of the last, we're at what, 11 champions in that format? Yeah.
Well, I have a problem. I have a problem with Logano in 22. Not last year, but
Yeah.
because he had the second most wins. Yes, he got in with one win, but he did end up with the second most wins
Well,
on the season.
I don't blame them. Let me rephrase it because we've gone through this in our preseason stuff about which ones
Yeah.
were I would consider like a Mickey Mouse championship versus which ones aren't. But in terms of playing by the rules that are on the table, I can't blame any of the existing champions under the playoff rule because they didn't create this system. NASCAR did. And so they're just playing by the BS put in front of them. But to the point of the biased input and the controversy that's come up is Larry McReynolds basically said, let me guess who wants to go back to this. Is it somebody who hasn't won a championship? So first they were saying Larry made it, he didn't say an active driver. He tried to backtrack it and say an active driver. But lately he's kind of going down the Darrell Waltrip route where it's about time to show Larry McReynolds the door, where he's no longer relevant. Because he tried the point, especially they got Larry torn up was, is it somebody who hasn't won a championship? And how many championships does Larry McReynolds have? Zero. None.
He has
He's
an
got
empty
race.
cup.
Yep. So it's kind of interesting for somebody to throw shade at a driver who's not qualified, never been a driver, not qualified to say what should or shouldn't be. Makes a good, format and has never achieved that goal.
The
Versus
fact,
whether
the
it's Mark
fact,
Martin he's talking about or Denny Hamlin or somebody else, both of them are way more qualified than Larry Reynolds is ever going to be to make that determination.
the fact that a driver that hasn't won a championship says that a season-long championship is the way to go makes it more valid
Yep.
than a driver that has won a championship. You even have, and we all agreed on this in our chat,
Mhm.
Chase Elliott, who has won a Mickey Mouse championship, in my
Yep.
opinion, in your opinion.
Yep.
Chase Elliott says, if somebody runs away with it, who cares?
They earned
And
it.
that's the first time I've ever agreed with Chase Elliott.
Yep, same. I
He
was I was
said,
happy to see the sport's most popular driver for once say something that's not NASCAR might consider it controversial because it goes against their narrative of the playoffs are great and everybody loves it, but to say something that the majority of fans agree is the problem with this sport. And if anybody listening doesn't think it's the majority of fans, both Mark Martin's poll and Jeff Gluck's poll, you put them together, the vast majority won a 36 race. The second most majority won a 10 race chase. So they want even the first iteration prior to the playoffs. Nobody wants the playoffs. But if you put those numbers together, it's an 80-20 issue. So if you keep saying the playoffs are a better way, you're on the wrong side. Period.
Here's here's what Chase was mentioning though. Right now we have had 22 races. After
Yep.
22 races, Chase Elliott's lead the points by 4 points over William Byron. 15 Larson, 20 Hamlin, who
Yep.
has missed a race, by the
Yep.
way, 62 Bell, and 71 Reddick. That is a very, very close
Mhm.
battle. And here we are, uh, just
Yeah.
talking about playoffs when you have the battle you want right there.
Yep. You've got some of the biggest stars battling it out, and they're no more than a race apart because you can score a maximum of 61 points in a race. One
Well,
point for leading the most laps, 10 points per stage, and 40 points for winning the race. So
but
even if you
beyond
kept
that,
stages and got rid of the playoffs and the winning you're in, if you just kept the stage points, took away the stage breaks, and went back to 36 races, I think you would be fine because the cars are so close together now. Nobody can build a technological advantage. You're not going to go in there and build a T-Rex, or you're not going to have was it Todd Parrott that said they went in and, uh, or Fatback McSwain, one of them said they went in there and they modified NASCAR's templates to fit their car on one of Dale Jr.'s downloads. You remember that?
I
Where
think
the ones that was either for the
I
Pontiac
think
or
that
the
was
Ford,
McSwain. It was McSwain, Pontiac.
where he said like we went in there while they were out and like modified the nose and everything, which is fucking brilliant. First off, like that was awesome. Like you know how we get it to fit our tricked up car? We just make the templates fit our car.
So, so what we also need to look at now. This wasn't next gen, but it was the year before next gen.
Yep,
With I believe it's with 10 races to go in the
yep,
regular season. Larson was fifth in points, 200 out, and won the regular season championship. You have, I'm going to go look real quick again. You have 12 drivers right now within that point mark.
yep,
12. So why do we need a playoff format when you have the perfect point system right now? Well, you really do.
yep.
The
Just get
only
rid of the
thing I would
playoffs.
add,
Yep,
the only thing I would add to this is me and Chris was talking about this earlier. You need to bring back points for leading a lap and leading the most laps.
yep.
You just do.
Agreed. Yep. There. If I was
Because
gonna,
flipping
yep,
stages happens, and when you flip a stage, what happens, Alan? You're not finishing in the top 10
nope. You're trading.
unless you're G.
Yep. If you got rid of stage breaks, added a point for a lap led and the most laps led, and got rid of the playoffs, I think you would be right where you want to be.
Well, I don't think we're
And
going to get rid of stages, but even
no,
if
no,
you don't get
I
rid of
don't want to get rid
stages,
of stages. I would keep the
I
stage
meant the
points.
brakes. We're not going to.
Yeah.
They're not going to get rid of brakes. They're just
No,
not.
unfortunately, they're
We
not.
can argue that to the cows home. They're not going to get rid of them,
No, they're not.
especially with people like Dale Jr. That's all about them now. But with
Yes.
even with the stage breaks, you have a great point system going on right now. You just need to benefit those that are actually leading the laps that aren't getting the points because a caution comes out with 8 to go and they decide to pit because they're trying to win the race
Yep.
and they get behind guys that aren't pitting for stage points. You need to benefit those that are actually leading laps.
Yep. And I would definitely keep the stage points because if you look at the points breakdown, the reason why William Byron led so much and Joe Logano led up in the top five so much, and Christopher Bell was up there so much, and
They
Bubba
have an
Wallace
insane
is up there
amount.
so
They have
much.
an insane amount of
They have
playoff stage points.
130, 150, 160 stage points. They make up more than a third of their total points.
Byron's over 200 right now.
Right. Well, that's great. I think that's awesome. The stage points aren't a bad thing. It's the cautions that ruin that have just deteriorated strategy and truthfully, have probably deteriorated the wear and tear. Because I don't think that the next gen car is bulletproof. I think that by having the mandatory cautions, you're giving the components a break to cool down. Where if they had to stay at optimum pressure and temperature and everything else for 500 miles or 400 miles or 600 miles under that intense pressure, I think you'd have more natural cautions too, because things would give up. You would blow brake rotors, you would blow brake lines, you would blow more tires, you would have cooling fail, radiators go out and stuff. You're not having that because you're giving the car a chance to essentially reset and come back to a more optimal temperature because you're giving it a break. You're running a bunch of heat races,
Speaking of natural cautions, how the hell was the 7 wreck on Saturday not a natural caution?
right? I 100% agree. He's smoking in the wall, coming down. Let's keep racing.
Not only that, there's a car behind him that slapped the wall.
Yep.
Nothing. Sorry, I had to
No, no,
throw
you're not wrong. Valid point.
that.
So, um, tying all that together, yeah, just if you haven't listened to it yet, Denny,
The only thing
he didn't get hostile, but I really wanted him to because they've
I
been picking at him. And Denny, whether you like Denny or not, is vastly more qualified to tell you as a team owner and a competitor what works and what doesn't than Larry McReynolds, who's never driven a car and only crew chief for a short period of time and never in this era, and especially Danielle Trotta, who's just a pretty face behind a microphone, who's never strapped into a car and doesn't know a damn thing about crew chiefing or owning a team or what makes for good TV, you know, and what makes for good racing. You know, I used to like a lot of these people that have gotten their, shows on NASCAR radio, but NASCAR radio has almost become toxic because it's an echo chamber. If you don't agree with the narrative for NASCAR and you call in and you have an opinion that's contrary, just like Dave Moody shut you down, now they're starting to shut you down.
the only thing I didn't I saw the clip you're talking about with Denny, and Denny was talking about 2021. He said
Yeah.
Larson was the fourth best car out of the four,
Yeah.
and he got lucky. But here's the problem with that: he won 9 races leading up to that race.
Oh, he was the best driver year round.
He was
Oh,
the
for the
best
year, no question.
car all year. So he's saying the wrong car won the championship. No, it didn't.
Well,
If
no, what he's saying
anybody,
is the
if
wrong
anybody
car.
but that car won the championship that year, it would have been ridiculous. Kind of like when Harvick didn't win in 2020.
Yeah, when he won 9 races and
Yeah,
didn't
he
he didn't
won
even
nine
make the
races
final
and didn't
four.
make the final four. So in my eyes, Denny's wrong on that. Yes, he was probably the third best car that day out of the four. But if he doesn't win the championship, it's a total fuck. It's a shit show, in my opinion.
Well, I think, don't get me wrong. I completely agree with your point about what Denny's saying. I think what Denny's point is intended to say is Larson was not the best car on that day, but something that outside of their control in a one race sample size determined the champion. And that can happen in any race, but the problem is, and it is a good example of, David Starr having that issue or the controversial did Chase's people get the foot back on the wall in time or not in his year, all those things that anything can happen in a race. So to use a race to determine a champion versus a sample of races, a cumulative body of work, whether it's 3 races, 5 races, 36 races, 10, whatever, is a bad way to do business. And we've seen it through all 11 iterations of this winner take all championship where somebody has manipulated at some point in this playoff system, somebody has manipulated their way to the end. Whether it was Ryan Newman in the first year using Kyle Larson as a bumper like a pinball machine to get in and make it, or Joey Logano moving Martin Truex Jr. out of the way to advance and make it, or
Do
David
you
Starr
think
having that
do
tire and giving him the chance. Like
you
you
think
can go through.
NASCAR would allow that this year or right now? The Newman move, because
No,
the Newman move is essentially just like the
the
Chastain move.
Chastain, the watermelon rock wall ride. Yeah. And that's another one. I completely forgot about it. And it's one of the most well known of all is the and most dangerous of all of them by far. There are security gates, people entrance gates, all that kind of stuff. I mean, that move, you do that 100 times, Ross Chastain probably dies in probably 70% of them if you run that enough, because he
Yep.
hooks at some point, the car breaks down and hooks in the wall, and
And immediately stops.
yep. So the fact that he did it once and it succeeded is a miracle into
It
itself,
was
and it was
fastest lap in
badass to
Martinsville
watch.
history.
Yep, fastest. He set the lap time record for sure, and the most passes in a single corner. But I mean, we talked about it when it happened, you and I, but like I was vehemently against it because of, and everybody's like, "Oh, that was awesome. How can you not like
Uh,
that?" I didn't say I didn't like it. I said that's not racing. And
yeah.
if you're saying safety is your motto, which we're not really here to debate that one particular move, but I mean, NASCAR for years has said safety is our number one concern. Well, if that's true, if anybody wrecks in that turn and he comes through there at a delta of 40 mile an hour faster than them and T-bones their ass, they're probably not walking away. If they are, they're in a wheelchair. And he's probably in a wheelchair too for a while.
Yep.
So, I mean,
Days of Thunder all over again.
yeah, it's just the way it is. So, um,
Speaking of, we gotta
well,
put out
just
a
to,
thought to Stuart Friesen.
yeah. So before we jump to Stuart Friesen, who I've seen race in person numerous times at Six Flags, or at Five Flags Speedway in where the Snowball Derby is. Um, for the points battle, what Jeff Gluck basically said was, we're way past this conversation now, but what Jeff Gluck basically said, and Denny said was, we're 8 or 9 months into this. Everybody agrees that the current format is wrong. However, if TV likes it, we're not going to change a damn thing. And that it may have to be tabled until next year, which, as a race fan, is just fucking depressing to know that you know it's the problem. And we're going to go crown another Mickey Mouse fucking champion anyway. And we're going to do it again. And you know it's wrong, but we're going to do it anyway. So it's frustrating to know that the entire industry agrees this is not the right way to do it. But because TV has become so prominent and the money matters more than the integrity, and this is a clear sign that the money matters more than the integrity of the sport, you're not willing to do the right thing, even if it costs you money. Even though
I
long term, I
wonder.
think it would make you money and it would bring the fans back because it's clear in the polls again, the majority, 80%, when you add them together, do not want this format. They want either the regular chase version back or they want the 36 points, but they don't want this. So
I wonder if NBC, because NBC has the last 16 races, or no, hold on, I was right, 14 races.
14.
They have the last 14 races. I kind of wonder if it was built into their contract that they have say on the playoff or not.
I would be curious to know that as well.
If they do, that was really bad.
Yeah.
If they don't, then they have no foot to stand on, and NASCAR can do what the fuck they want.
Well, I think the problem is, and this is just hearsay based off of what was in those conversations from Jeff Gluck and from Denny, is that it doesn't sound like NBC wanted that responsibility. Unlike Fox, it was like, we need a dirt race that nobody fucking asked for. We need a street race nobody asked for. We need to go to California and run a Coliseum no one asked for. NBC doesn't seem to want that same level of responsibility. They don't want to be responsible for doing that because NBC wasn't the one who dictated the playoffs. That was NASCAR.
That was Nextel.
No, no. Nextel Sprint dictated the chase. The playoffs were
Oh yeah,
NASCAR's decision
yeah, you're
to
right.
change it.
Sorry, I
That's
was
all I'm
thinking
saying is
like,
the NBC isn't the one who came up with the playoffs bracket. That was NASCAR. That wasn't the TV partner.
well, if that's the case, then they shouldn't have any say so in the matter.
Well, I think so Mark Martin in GBC basically said he'll shut up the moment NASCAR comes out and says, clearly, we understand what you're saying is right, that the fans are right, but we're not going to do it because we want the money more than we care about what the fans think, is essentially what he said. I will stop complaining the moment you come out and say that you're so addicted to the money and the revenue that comes with doing this that you don't care about what you're doing to the history and the legacy and the integrity of the sport. And said,
Yeah.
and as soon as you come out and say that, then I'll be quiet. And I think it's interesting
I,
that this controversy started last week, and Mark Martin is the guest on every single podcast this week,
oh,
except
is
ours,
he?
obviously. Yeah, he's on DVC, he's on Harvick, and he's been the topic of discussion on all the other stuff. So the fact that he's been the lead or discussion point for all this
Why
is
haven't you got
interesting
him on here with us? What the hell's your problem, dude?
because apparently we're not important. We're just a bunch of hillbillies, all right?
I did try once, but I didn't try very hard to get his
So
attention.
yeah, could be all the foul language. Who knows?
That's, I don't
We'll
think he
keep
cares
trying.
about foul language when he does this.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, did you see his comments? That little snippet where he talked about what should happen to Austin Hill, but in his the way So what he
Oh
said
yeah, he
was
said he wasn't. He wouldn't be able to fight him because he'd get his
documented
butt kicked.
next year. Yeah, he's like,
Yeah,
I believe it's in settling, my disagreements off the track, but
but not with
in
him.
case of Austin Hill, he's like, I don't know what to do with that because he'd knock me into next week. And that's the problem. He's so big
Yeah,
and such a bully, he thinks he can do whatever the hell he wants.
yeah.
Now, if you run up behind him with a tire iron, like in Fast and Furious, that'll do something different. But anyway, so all right. So I think the last topic of conversation, or at least one of them. So Stuart Friesen, uh, critically injured in a dirt race crash. I've seen him race tons of times at Five Flags. Extremely good race car driver. Uh, him and a bunch of others. But they're updating. It sounds like it's going to be a while, obviously, but he's got several surgeries. They got to get him back from. I think he should be back in New York now, but yesterday he was still in Canada, I believe. So they had to, fly him back and bring him here for surgery.
And broke his pelvis. That's going to be a
Mhm.
while.
Yeah, so he's got numerous injuries. Uh, so that's unfortunate for him. I'm glad he survived. Just a reminder of how dangerous it is.
It's a reminder that all these small dirt tracks needs to enclose their damn facility. There
Yep,
should never be an open wall at any dirt track.
yep, yep. Why, why they don't have it? And that honestly goes back to the point of NASCAR seeking out all these markets where we could take this and take that. You have all these dirt tracks all over the country. You want to go dirt racing with the Cup cars? Fine. Let's do it. But let's go to an existing dirt race. You don't need to throw dirt on Bristol. You've got all these places. Let's pick one. Go sell out, you know, 8,000 seats and televise it like you did North Wilkesboro. There's nothing wrong with that or Bowman Gray. You know, it's good for the community. Take one of those, just like Bowman Gray is going to get the All Star or the Clash again. But for a long-term commitment, they want improvements to the track and this and that from agreements from NASCAR, and rightfully so. NASCAR, I believe they own Bowman Gray or ISC or SMI does one of the
Yeah,
two, but they should.
Bowman Gray is not owned by NASCAR. It is they do all the publicity for it essentially.
Yeah, but I mean, either way, if I'm going to bring a race to you and I'm going to bring all this money and everything, like you should invest in the infrastructure. It's in the best interest of your sports health long term because this is the same place that the ARCA folks race and the K&N folks race, and that's where your stars come from.
Yeah,
Is those
but
lower
the fact
series.
that wherever whatever track this was had a wall sticking out that if a driver got out of line
Yeah.
like Friesen did,
Yeah.
they're going to hit it with the side of their car going 100 and whatever mile an hour and have that happen to them. That is extremely dangerous and careless, in my opinion, that
Yeah.
there are tracks out there like that. I know my speedway, Florence Speedway, is 30 minutes down the road. It is totally enclosed, and I applaud them for that. But I don't understand why these places that have been around for decades can't spend a couple dollars and put a wall all the way around the damn track.
Okay. I only had one other thing. And it's not like a controversial thing or anything to talk about. It's just something that I noticed that surprises me. Yeah, I'm glad. But it's been a while now since Sherry Pollock's passed away, Martin Truex's old girlfriend. That it's nice to see that NASCAR is still doing the Speedway's children's charity thing with this catwalk for a cause. I wasn't sure that would continue in her absence, especially once Truex retired, if that would live on, because it's been around since 2009. So uh, it's good to see that going now. We're closing in on almost 20 years. It's 15 years now. So that's really good. But I just expected, like all things, like anything in NASCAR, when you're not seen or you're not around anymore, things tend to get forgotten.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. You got anything else you want to talk about?
Um, just predictions for Iowa. Take a guess.
Yep.
I will
No.
real quick with our preseason picks. I want to say again, I was the only person to pick Bubba to win a race. I know I didn't pick the right race, but I did pick
Yep.
him to win a race. I also
Yep.
picked the 19 to win a race, so I'm kicking your all's ass at that. Didn't pick the right race, but did pick him.
Yep. So who's your pick? You think Priest?
Um, Brees?
Yeah.
No,
No. Oh, I thought you were going out here on this limb since you predicted
no.
the prediction king here. I thought you were
I
going to
never
tell me.
picked him. I never picked him to win it.
Okay.
But I I feel like if the 5 team brings back the same setup they did last year, they don't do the dumb shit they did last year and wreck the car, there's a good chance that we'll see him run away with it. But if not, you'll see Ryan Blaney run good again
Yep.
and potentially put all the Penske cars because the two is finally coming back to
Yep.
competitiveness. Um, so I do know that I saw the Indy cars run there a couple weeks ago, and the new stuff they laid down last year already looks faded as hell.
Yep.
So that's going to be interesting to see how that works out.
Yep.
But I think Larson gets back to his winning ways this weekend
Okay.
after 2 plays.
I think the easy low hanging fruit obviously is Blaney. Um, just because of Penske's short track program in general. I just think that, they're probably going to be the one to beat. I would like to see Larson win. My my dark horse pick that I would love to see win. Don't think he will, but I would love to see it. I would love for Kyle Busch to go out there and win
I
for
would
two
too.
reasons. One, I'd like to see him win again to get himself into the playoffs, obviously, but
I
he's
would
never
too because it put 7 of
he's
my 8 drivers into something
yeah.
in a different pool. Sorry.
Well, he's never won at Iowa, and there's only a handful of tracks that before we started doing all these schedule changes, he had won at every active track. So I would like to see him win so he could check that one off.
Has he won there in Xfinity or trucks?
I don't remember. I'd have
I
to
don't
look.
think he has that either.
I don't think so. I think he's never won at Iowa, period, because we didn't run that many races there.
That would be interesting. It
I'd
makes
love
you
to see
wonder
him.
why RCR didn't put him in the 21 for that.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. Um, so we're another week closer to the end of the year. We don't know what the hell Chevy's going to run for a car. Not
I'm
even like,
shocked.
not even like a whisper.
I think I'm gonna tweet Talkers after this and see if he knows anything.
Like I figured
See
by
if they'll-
now they'd have something to say. But I mean, in 4 races when we open the playoffs, if they still ain't said anything, then we'll really know. Like,
Are they gonna run this Chevrolet platform again next year? Like just as the Camaro, but not a Camaro? Like,
right.
is that
Well,
gonna
I
happen?
mean, once we get into the playoffs, that's when 2025 paint schemes start dropping and diecast start getting listed. So like you kind of have to know what you're gonna have. So I figure if they're not
Maybe we can get
announcing
in
it,
with Sharon and say, hey, we're not asking what it is, but do you know if there is a new model car being used next year?
yep.
Not what it is. Is it Chevy? Is it Cadillac? Are y'all getting a new mold made?
Are y'all gonna have a new diecast mold next year? Yes or
Yeah.
no? Blink, blink. Blink if
Blink
it's
once
yes.
if
Blink
it's
twice.
yes.
Yeah, be like, you're gonna be like, get out of here.
You know I can't answer that. That's worth a shot.
Well, we tried. So, yeah, I'm hoping because honestly, I think if they don't, Chevy's in trouble. There's only so much more juice you can squeeze out of this thing, and the Toyotas are continuing to improve. The Fords are improving. Like you're starting to
And
get
and
behind.
Hendrick is slowly getting behind.
Yep,
Slowly.
you can see it. They're losing their advantage little by little by little. They're still good, but they're losing their advantage.
This
And
is the
even though
second
I
year
think
for
the
the dark
current,
horse, and they're on it.
yeah,
Second year for the new Camry, and they're on it. And
is this the second year of the new Camry?
the dark horse and the Camry came out the same year last year.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Um,
Yep, because last year was the FedEx one. You're right. But it's still an ugly ass car. Like the regular car, it's a good looking car. As a race car, it's ugly. Ugly as all
how
get
much the
up.
Camry?
Hmm.
I like it.
But I will say that well, it looks like it's racing down the road with a big old happy face when they do the paint schemes. Like, have you seen
They're
that?
happy. They're happy. They're racing, man.
Yeah.
Smoke
Um,
honey. It'll
but
be
I'll
all
say
right.
that it reminds me a lot of the 2015, 2016 Camry with those curves. It's less aggressive angled lines like the prior iteration, which was a mean looking race car. And they traded that for a little bit more rounded aero balance. I mean, it's paying dividends. I mean, all the Toyotas are fast. It's taken them a little bit. They were behind when they first started with it, but they have caught up. So,
Well, here's what I'm looking at. Cadillac just announced their drivers for F1.
mhm.
That is becoming more and more a real thing. It's, I mean, we already knew it was a real thing, but it's
Yeah,
happening. They got the drivers' names out. You got to think if they're going to run NASCAR, if they're going to run Cadillacs in NASCAR, they're going to announce it in the next month. You would
yeah.
think.
You would think in their sedans, there's five platforms. There's CT5, CT4, the Celestiq, which is Banquery only, but you wouldn't race that. That thing is essentially like it's an EV, but it's almost as long as a damn, looks like a little mini limo. But you got the CT5 and CT4, and Chevy only has the Malibu now because the Camaro's been discontinued. They don't have the Impala, they don't have the Monte Carlo. So unless they bring something back out of nowhere, which would be great, I agree. I think this is the way we're going to have to go. It's just surprising we haven't seen anything on it by now. Not even a whisper. So,
Yeah, I don't know.
all
It's
right.
definitely crazy that we haven't heard anything, and we're going into August.
Yeah. Well, I
And
got nothing else.
the rule is you have to use a new body after 1 year of them not making it. Correct?
But yeah, I thought that was the deal. So, like, otherwise, I don't know what you're going to race. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I'm
all right.
good, buddy.
All right. Well, that's our show. Probably longer than I think we initially planned, but
Yeah.
a lot of good
All good.
topics. Um, Thank you all for listening, and I'll get it uploaded to our feeds. I've been bad about not putting it on Spotify just because I've been bouncing around all over the place and I forget. So I'll make sure I'll do both this time. That way Chris doesn't yell at me. And we'll we'll go from there. So y'all
Sounds
have a
good,
good
baby.
good week, and we'll see you after Iowa and see who
See
won the
y'all
corn
at the
ferry.
hour.
See who gets to do a burnout and some corn.
Yep.
All right.